Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing tonight? Episode number 401. Drink It Till You podcast, the only podcast that lasts until the last drop. How the hell is your Sunday going? How the hell was your week? Hope everybody's okay. I hope you're safe out there. This game's just starting. Green Bay versus the Dallas Cowboys. Got that on in the background here. Whatever those helmet covers are, I mean, players are absolutely getting roasted for those right now. They remind people are putting pictures of like a Green Bay player in that little helmet cover next to what's that movie? Spaceballs. You know, they have like the large helmets, and that's exactly what it looks like, dude. It looks so weird and goofy. But I heard a quick little snippet about the NFL. Actually, last week I was going through the standings, and, you know, obviously I saw that Green Bay lost to the Browns, and which was super shocking to me, just even reading it live on the episode last week. But supposedly, I haven't researched any more into this. I've only read like 2 headlines that say Green Bay is possibly now going to be investigated for throwing that match. And I guess the little I did read about it, the reason being just like the bets that were placed before the game, kind of, you know, a little suspicious. And then they end up losing the game to a team. You know, I even said it out loud when I was reading the scores from last week. That's just unusual. You know, not to say they can't lose, you know, to teams that aren't as good, you know. It just seemed a little off. Like, even just looking at the score, I didn't watch any of the game, but even looking at the score, I'm like, what was it, like 13-10? I'm like, that's so weird. You know, and watch Green Bay come out here. You know, if they're smart, the strategy this week 4, might be to lose to my Cowboys, you know, just to be like, oh, yeah, we're just not playing well. But I think the paper trail, like I said, of the bets that were placed before the game is what's kind of tipping everybody off. Then they lose the game. You know, it's that whole thing from one of my favorite movies, Snatch, with Bradley Pitt. You know, basically where he's just the gypsy, you know, and sorry if that word's offensive. That's what they call him in the movie. He's the pikey. And, you know, they're basically, they just roam around, you know, as a group is essentially what they do. They make camp in a place for a little while, you know, make the money they can, and then move on. And basically him and the pikeys are always betting on themselves. Like when they're doing this bare knuckle fighting stuff, you know, they're always going to bet on themselves, or, you know, some unsanctioned boxing event. You're going to put money on yourself because, you know, the odds are probably against you. No one's ever heard of you, but if you knock the guy out, I mean, you win all the money. So, and that was kind of a point of like contention between the pikeys and the basically the villain in the movie, Bricktop. Was like they're wanting Brad Pitt to go down in the 4th round, you know, so they can win their money. They've told all their buddies that he's going down in the 4th, and then he doesn't because he's put money on himself. I think that's a touchdown. Green Bay up 6-0 already. Was he in? No, they're calling it at like the half-yard line. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that's going to come of that, but it did seem very odd to me too. Just, you know, like I said, I didn't watch the game just by the scoreline. It's like, that's not very, you know, I'm not a Packers fan at all, but that's not very Green Bay Packers of them to lose to that team. You know what I mean? So yeah, anyways, game just happened. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Baltimore Ravens. I'm almost positive, without looking it up, that the Chiefs won that one. And Lamar Jackson apparently went out on a snap there. Some guy grabbed his leg trying to tackle him, and it messed up his hamstring or something. I don't know. That's kind of scary. So who did they put in? The former backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, Cooper Rush. And there was one play where it's like a 4th down. I mean, like, they're losing the game. It's the 4th quarter. and Cooper Rush just throws it out of bounds and like turnover on downs. And even the announcers were like, you could have done anything else other than that. You could have just Hail Married it, and it would have been a better option than, throwing it out of bounds on fourth down. Like, what the hell are you doing? But I was like, that's the Cooper Rush I know. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that. I remember that guy. So, yeah, anyway, a little bit of NFL going on. NASCAR, man, that was a thriller right there at the end. I was talking about last week how, I'm just confused on how the NASCAR stuff works, it being my first season actually just watching it. There's their touchdown. They didn't score that first time. They got it in now. 6-0 Green Bay. But yeah, I was talking about last week NASCAR. I didn't know if that was the last race of the season. Apparently not. They did race today. Christopher Bell had such a great opportunity to win this one today. I think he placed either third or fourth, which isn't horrible, but he was up in first place. And then a couple of things, happened. Of course, some wrecks. They got to, regroup after that, clean up the track, blah, blah, blah. And, he had a chance to win. Bubba Wallace kind of like bumps him out of the way. And they were talking about it on the broadcast afterwards. That kind of bumped Christopher Bell down to third or fourth place to end the race. And they were talking about it. That kind of gives Christopher Bell license in whatever race he chooses. If he's up against it with Bubba Wallace, he's basically going to pay him back. You know what I mean? Like, if he did that to him to get him out of the way or, not let him have the lead, there's probably a more crucial race coming up. And, yeah, I mean, Christopher Bell's going to have, I don't want to say the right to, but, if you're going to do it to me, you can't be mad when I do it to you in a crucial race and I end up winning. You know what I mean? But, yeah, it was a great, tight race. Dude, they had to go to, like, overtime. They had to do, like, a 3-lap overtime because one of the wrecks, I mean, the dude was like, I don't even know how to describe this. Like, how your car is supposed to be, like, flat to the ground, with the wheels, and then, the torque pushes you forward. Well, he was not flat against the ground. He was, like, on his side, like on the ground, like just lift up his car and set it on its side and push it forward down the side wall. Like his wheel was literally on the side wall. And he's like scraping the left side of his car, like going down the track. It's got to be. And they were talking about it, how like inches away from his face the like asphalt is, and he's flying by it, who knows, 150 160 miles an hour, just scraping the side of his car. And then he goes down on the track and into more of the middle, and that flips his car. These guys are just, I've said this a million times before, these guys that do this are absolutely insane. They seem normal when they're doing the interview, they're doing the whole Ricky Bobby thing. Yeah, I'm just going really fast. I just want to go really, it's that whole thing. But are you really sane if you can go 200 miles an hour every time and like risk death? Are those sane people? I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. You have to be a little bit. Oh, there's Parsons. What's up, Parsons? You got to be a little bit insane to do something like that. Like, know that this could be your last. I mean, if something goes wrong. And, dude, like, just the inches. I can't remember who won the race. It wasn't a Joe Gibbs teammate. Even though Toyotas are dominating, bro. At least today, what I saw when I flipped it on, man, it was like the top 6 were all Toyotas. Joe Gibbs Racing doesn't get the first place today, but it's like when the first place guy passed, I forget who he's fighting. Was it Hamlin? Hamlin won. It couldn't have been Hamlin. That's Joe Gibbs, isn't it? But basically, just the inches that they use to like pass somebody, to like go around. So like think of any time on the highway you've been driving and it's been like a close call. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even close to what they're doing. Like, this guy's going for the lead 200 miles a freaking hour. And I mean, you couldn't have fit a quarter. Like, the way he passed, he came up on the guy's left bumper to pass him. And I mean, you couldn't have fit a quarter in between them. Thin, like, horizontally. It was almost like he rubbed his car with, they rubbed cars together as he's passing him. It's just incredible. Like, I mean, these cars, they just have to be like, by this point, you're a baseball player, you get familiar with your baseball bat. You're a hockey player, you get familiar with your hockey stick. You're a basketball player, you get familiar with your sneakers. Like, how familiar they are with their cars is just, it's an extension of their body, essentially. Like, there's no way any average person who doesn't do that every Sunday, sometimes Saturday, there's no way an average person can do that. Just the amount of space he had to use to pass, it was just incredible, man. It was a great race. There at the end, that was awesome. Even though my guy didn't win, but the playoffs are still on. And just to add some clarity, and this is really more for myself, so when I one day go back and listen to this, I'll know what the hell was going on. But essentially, like, they let everybody race, even if you're not in the the top 8 or the playoff spots. They let everybody race, and I was asking my friend, I was like, so how does that work? Like, what if some guy from 15th place all of a sudden just is like the top 4 in this race, this coming week? He's like, well, that usually doesn't happen, and it really wouldn't mean anything. Even if it's not going to make him a part of the playoffs. It's not going to, it's just basically, I guess, for bragging rights at that point. But what I'm kind of assuming here, and any NASCAR fan, just feel free to let me know, drinkuntilyouPodcast@gmail.com. But I'm assuming if you didn't make it to the playoffs, like, it might be some kind of unspoken rule that you're not going to, don't enter into, a certain level. You know what I mean? Because you're not in this anymore, So I guess they're just kind of in there for pride. I don't know. But I feel like that might be how it works, just for the fact that, kind of like what I touched on a second ago with Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell, that if you do that to someone and you're not in the playoffs, wait until that season you're in the playoffs, and that person, they remember this shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's like every other sport I've ever watched. You cross-check someone, and put them down to the ice, they're going to look at your number and figure out who did it to them, because the next play they get, they're going to come get you, which is, it's so cool that it's just done in that NASCAR way. It's just such a special thing. And to be honest with you, this sport, NASCAR, just kind of rounds out the sports that I watch. I already watched the Major 4. I already watched hockey. I already watched baseball. I already watched football. I already watched basketball. But this gives me that college football thing I was doing for so many years, just trying to come up with a team that resonated with me, that I just wanted to be a part of. Like, it never happened. Who was I? I was like on the good teams. I was on one of my first seasons. I was like, Alabama, let's go. Let's see what it's all about. And, I went to Ole Miss last season. I think I did OU one season when they had a decent season. And it never spoke to me. So this, this NASCAR thing is just really rounded out. I didn't even throw UFC in there. Like, that's a whole other thing I have to make time to watch, which I actually did on Saturday. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, dude, it was just overall just a great race, and I'm really loving NASCAR, even not knowing that much about it. Just learning is such a fun part. Like, the commentators are great. The insights that they give are really cool. Like, just even with that, excuse me, that Bubba Wallace Christopher Bell thing. Them saying that about Christopher Bell is like, okay, now that Bubba's done that to him, if that comes back and Christopher Bell does it to Bubba, he can't say anything. You already did it to me. You can't be mad. It's a double standard. And that's better than NFL to me. You know what I mean? Like the announcers in the NFL, I don't know. Like they're okay. I don't know, man. I just don't feel like they provide, and maybe I'm not watching enough of it, admittedly, but they just don't provide those kind of insights, it doesn't seem like. Other than Tony Romo, like, predicting the play, but it's like, okay, what good does that do? Why couldn't you do that when you played with the Cowboys, dude? If you can predict what Green Bay is going to do all of a sudden in week 4, why couldn't you do that when you were actually playing? And I'm sure it's just different, I'm giving him, I actually love Tony Romo to death, but I'm just giving him shit. It's probably easier to see when you're not down on the field. You can see how people are lined up and you kind of know the plays in your head. So anyways, let's go ahead. I didn't even say what I was drinking, did I? I'm drinking tequila with my blue can White Claw over ice. I guess this is our first drink. 16 minutes in. If you got them, drink them. Bottoms up. Let's take a big one. Cheers. All right. Real quick, go check out my YouTube page, please, at Drink Until You Podcast. Uploading clips, and for the first time in almost 8 years, I finally have an audio short uploaded of this podcast on my YouTube page, which is, you'll have to go listen to that story. It was basically the story I was telling last week about Red Dead Redemption. But yeah, go check. It only took me 8 years to start, and over 400 episodes to start getting audio clips put up. But that's I'm not doing that. That's my friend James, who's helping me with like the technical side. Dude, I can't do any of that stuff. Like it's honestly miraculous that I can even upload this episode. Like once my laptop dies, I don't know if you guys will ever hear from me again. I don't know what I'm going to do. Buy another laptop? Okay, that might be an option, but we'll see. I don't know if it's all going to work the same, dude. I get so frustrated with computers. It just doesn't take much. All the computer has to tell me is it's the wrong type of file, and then I'm overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Like, and now I have to sit down and search and like learn what the different files are. And this goes for pictures, like audio clips. Like, it took me forever to realize that, if you don't put your episodes in MP3 format, they won't be on Spotify. Spotify only takes MP3 format. So for years, I'm like, I would have just random episodes on Spotify. It's like episode number 36, and then the next episode that's on there is like episode number 243. It's like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So yeah, shout out to James. He's helping me get all this stuff together, which I've wanted to do. I just don't have the technology, and I don't have the knowledge to do this kind of stuff. I'm not tech savvy. So let this be your inspiration for the day. If you've ever thought about starting a podcast, you can do it too. I'm dumb as shit, and I can do it. You can do it too. Anyways, let's go ahead and have another drink. Cheers, everybody. All right. What else? UFC. That was a lot of fun, man. I missed it, dude. That week off of UFC, I don't like it. That weekend, that Saturday, it kind of sucks. I found myself just playing like Fight Night Champion a lot last Saturday, just because I was like missing UFC. But it was a great event. And by the way, I think it's the next one is the Pereira fight where he's getting the rematch. Tune into that one for sure if you can. I'll definitely be on here talking about it. But yeah, UFC, the main event, Olberg, with the jab overhand right to end that fight. That was awesome to see. Crute with the co-main event. That was kind of odd, man. That was I've never seen a neck crank like that. It wasn't. He was on his back. Crute was on his back, but he wasn't it wasn't giving him like the rear naked choke. It was almost like, I don't even know what you call this move, but he was like lifting the guy's chin from his, like a neck crank, I guess. He wasn't even about choking him. He was like trying to lift his head off his body. Which that guy is like grimacing as he's like having his head pulled up, and he's like, all right, I tapped, I'm done. I need my head. I'm pretty sure I need my head attached. That I've never seen that before. It was cool / interesting / funny. The way the commentators reacted to it, it was actually kind of, they were saying the same thing. They're like, what do you call that? I think that's what they eventually said was the neck crank. So yeah, that was a good fight. And then the Magny Matthews fight, there is some controversy there, dude. That was so weird. So it's like Magny, it gets in Matthews has Magny in like a choke, and it's like trying to choke him out, and it's coming down to the end of the round, and you hear the little tap, 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 tap. That means 10 seconds left in the round. Magny's being choked, and I swear to God, I'd have to go back and watch it, but the ref called off the fight like at the last second, counting down, because he thought Magny was out. And so, the buzzer rings or whatever, the horn goes off, and Matthews gets off of him. He's like, yeah, I won, and the ref is like, no, that's just the end of the round. And it was just such a weird moment. I think that the ref messed up. The ref called the fight. Even though he backtracked and said, no, that was just the end of the round, he definitely called the fight. I mean, I thought it too, to be honest. To be fair to the ref, I thought Magny was out on the bottom as well. And then once Matthews climbs off of him, Magny's just sitting there looking at the ref like, dude, I'm fine. And so the ref kind of changes his position. It's like, no, that was the end of the round. The fight's still on. And Magny ends up giving Matthews the rear naked choke and wins the fight. It's like, dude, if I was Matthews, I would be so damn furious. And I'm sure he is. But I would be so furious. He won the fight. Matthews won that fight. I mean, judging by what the ref said, I don't think Magny was out on the bottom, even though we couldn't see his face. We couldn't, he wasn't really doing anything to get him off, and I think that was due to the round ending soon. He was just kind of waiting it out. But, yeah, man, I mean, Matthews kind of got screwed. I'm happy for Magny, dude. I've watched Magny fight plenty of times, He's a respectable fighter. He's doing his thing, but yeah, he won by the same move that he lost by. I don't even know how to phrase this. Magny, that would be the headline. Magny wins by rear naked choke, which he lost by previously in the fight. There's not even a way to word that. That sounds good. It was just a clusterfuck. Even the announcer was like, oh, yeah, the ref made a mistake. He knows he made a mistake. That's kind of why he went back. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do for that one. Do you give him a rematch? I don't know. It was a weird situation. But, yeah, Magny ends up choking out Matthews and winning that fight. So, yeah, I watched this little short. Well, not a short. It was probably a 30-minute video on YouTube about the early days of UFC and Tank Abbott and all that. His whole thing, that dude is just, I don't know. He's just he's an oddball. You know what I mean? He's a tough guy, but he's just a weirdo. I don't know. He's just if he didn't fight UFC, I could totally see him being a serial killer. And that's weird to say. I think he got in some trouble, too. That was part of the special they were doing on him. He got in some trouble early on in his life and his career. And the judge was even like, I don't know how you haven't killed somebody by now. Like, how the way you act and like the things you do and the things you say, like, clearly he loves to fight, but he's psychotic, you know. And a lot of me starts to think, you know, or a lot of me thought over the years that, you know, it's just a performance. It's kind of the Mike Tyson thing. Not to say Mike Tyson wasn't a bad dude. Of course he was. But it's kind of that psych out thing. If you think you're across the cage from a psycho killer, it might change your game plan a little. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of that psych out thing. But the more video I kept watching of Tank Abbott, you know, doing podcast interviews and just, I think he has some sort of, I don't know, documentary on him. Like, just hearing him talk, it's like, this guy's just a fucking prick. You know what I mean? Like, he's good at fighting. You know, he's not the best, but he's just a weirdo. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've always got a kind of weird feeling from Tank Abbott, and I was never a huge fan. Even in those early days, I'm like, this dude, no. You know, he's talking like he's King Ding-a-ling. And, you know, back then he did well. Like, don't get me wrong, but you knew years down the line, this style ain't going to last. I mean, you watched Hoist Gracie in those early days, too, and you're like, yeah, what's Tank going to do when he gets fucking choked out? You know what I mean? Oh, no, CeeDee Lamb is out. Fuck, did he break? No, he can't be broken. There's no way. I have to look into it. But, yeah, anyways, that was an interesting documentary. Like I said, Tank's not my favorite. And like I said, I thought all of the posturing and shit talking was just for show, and then you just see him in regular everyday life, you're like, no, this guy's just off. There's something wrong with him. But, you know, not to say he shouldn't be respected for what he did and how he helped grow UFC. But yeah, he's just a brawler, man. Like, that's only one style, you know. It's MMA, it's mixed. You got to learn more than that. Yeah, they were talking about like bar fights he had been in, and this dude like smashed Tank Abbott in the face in a bar with a pool cue, and it snapped, and it broke Tank's nose, you know, and busted him open and everything. But like, once the Tank realized who did it to him, that dude was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't the movies, bro. Like, he's not just gonna like lay there while you leave. That pissed him off, and then he proceeded from his story and other accounts of that night, proceeded to beat the shit out of that guy for smashing him in the face with a pool cue. But yeah, that dude, I could totally see, and I don't even know who he was fighting, but I could totally see the look on his face of like, fuck, that didn't work. You know, that's not how it happens in the movies. You're supposed to fall down. And Tank just turns around fucking pissed, like ready to beat the shit out of him, as he realized this is the guy that hit him. That's a scary situation, but, you know, also, if you're going to fight in a bar, you kind of, you know, you gotta take your lumps. If the guy you're fighting is tougher than a pool cue, then you're going to take your lumps. You know what I mean? So anyways, let's go ahead and have another drink. Big gulps, everybody. We're not wasting any time tonight. All right. What else we got? We talked UFC. We talked NFL. MLB playoffs are coming up. Super excited about that. Even though my Rangers aren't in, that's sad. But dude, I'm kind of getting a feeling about the Mariners, dude. Like, I think they got some momentum going in. I think they got a good team. I think they got a good culture, it seems like, in the clubhouse. You know, you never know all the details. But I've been getting into these kind of, I don't know if you can call them conspiracies or not. This whole DARPA thing. This is supposedly like like our advanced weapons, you know, that are top secret. They always say, and I've thought this for a long time, the government's, you know, 15 to 20 years ahead of us in technology. People are like, you don't even know what they have. You don't even know what the government has, dude. You can't even start to imagine what they have. It's like, yes, I can. How do you think sci-fi is written? You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine a lot of shit. And if you just kind of go under the assumption they probably have this technology, you know, because they are so advanced, you know, you can just kind of make up your mind and make fantasy out of it. You know what I mean? Here's, you know, obviously they have advanced weapons. I believe, and I didn't get this from a source, I just kind of wrote out a list. I believe they have like healing powers, almost like you would see in a video game. You get shot, you inject yourself with the needle, or you eat I don't know, whatever, piece of cheese, and it heals you up. I think they have cloaking abilities. I saw an it's just a mock-up, but an anti-gravity suit for a soldier. And it's like, that wouldn't even be for, like, every soldier. That would be for your, like, generals and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the anti-gravity suit. Because, I mean, we're to the point now to where, I mean, we don't even have to have humans fight anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm positive robots exist, and they're very, like, fully functional. You know what I mean? Like, I believe they have that kind of technology. But the smartest part, I think, of it all, regardless of everything I just mentioned, would be, you know, supposedly, you know, there's UFOs that crash, and we got some technology. You got to reverse engineer to learn how the technology works. I think that one of the smartest things they probably do and have done and continue to do is not only invent the weapons, you know, these super sophisticated weapons, but I bet they know how to, like, counteract those weapons, even if somebody uses them against them. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be the best of everything? I have this weapon that not a lot of people know about, and if they do know about it, I know how to disarm it. You know what I mean? And the main thing I'm thinking is, like, the anti-gravity suits with the, you know, drone army. You know, it's like if someone sends drones after us, you know, what do you send out? One of those electric pulse waves or whatever you want to call it to shut down everything electronic. You know what I mean? So not only do I think they have all this advanced stuff, but I think they know how to also defeat it if it's ever used against them. So, or if the technology ever turns on them, so to speak. But yeah, dude, I believe it. You know, I believe there's just so much, and it's hard because it's like you can speculate all you want, you can use your imagination all you want, but you sound like a kook until somebody confirms it and say, yeah, I was in the military and we totally have shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of a rabbit hole I've been going down. I've never heard of DARPA until like 2 days ago. I didn't know what that was. But it's kind of creepy / cool. The creepy part is obviously, like, the stuff being used against, you know, the American people, if it ever came to that. But the cool part is, like, I don't know. And maybe before they zap you with their laser gun or whatever, you're like, this is so cool. You know, I don't know. Like, that technology is awesome. I've always dreamt of something like this. You know, then they zap you and turn you into a little booger or something. I don't know how it works. But yeah, look into that. If anybody's interested in that, I'd love to hear if you actually know some shit about that. Not just speculation. I'd love to hear that and read it on the episode. But anyways, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. Don't drink and drive. Treat yourself to an Uber. Treat yourself to a Lyft, a DoorDash, a Waymo if it's in your area, an Uber Eats, all that good stuff. Actually, I might do like I did a couple of weeks ago here. And I'm out of tequila after this glass, which is sad. But I might DoorDash some Jose Cuervo. I love some Jose. Talk all the shit you want. Jose's been around. Jose is tried and true. And it gets the job done. You know what I mean? I'm not mad at all. But yeah, just don't drink and drive. It's not worth it. If you got them, drink them. Bottoms up. Cheers, everybody. Ooh, that's cold. All right, guys. Dallas Cowboys interception. Woohoo! That's going to do it for me. Thank you all for listening. I love you all. Be safe out there. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.